Welcome to On Trac, a podcast where we talk with agriculture and construction professionals to find out how they keep their business on track. Today's guest is Todd Bachmann, president of Florida Coast Equipment. Todd, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to do it.
Awesome.
Good to be here.
Well, Todd, just a few things about Florida Coast for people who are not familiar with you guys. You guys have 10 locations. You've been an elite dealer with Kubota for the past 7 years. Top volume award winner for the past 8 years. And we know that kind of success doesn't happen overnight. You know, it takes time. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of people behind the scenes. So take us back. Tell us your story. How did you get involved in all this?
So I got involved in the business kind of the way that most folks that get in the tractor business, nepotism. I married into it in 2007. Actually was working in boxing at the time. I worked for Don King at the time. Was doing a ton of travel and just thought it was time to do something different. Came on board May 3rd, 2007. I don't know why I always remember that date, but I do. And we started, when I started at that point, we were 3 locations. I started off in sales and fast forward to today, you're right. In fact, that we're at 10, but in the next 10 days, we'll probably be at 14 locations. So pretty unbelievable growth. At the beginning of, as of April of 2021, we were 4 locations throughout South Florida. We had Naples, West Palm Beach, and Mims, Fort Pierce as well. And we went from 4 locations and say, 4 locations to 14 in less than 18 months.
Wow. That's incredible, man. That's awesome. So did I hear you right? Did you say you went from boxing to this?
Yeah. And I think they punch harder in the tractor business than they do in boxing. But I did. I was director of governmental affairs for Don King Productions before I got involved in this.
Wow. So tell us about that transition. I mean, how do you go from that world to the tractor world? And like, what are some of the things you took from that world and you kind of brought into the tractor business?
I mean, look, the one thing, so first of all, working for Don was amazing. He is a genius. But what I learned, what I think really works in this business is, man, you got to get up early, you got to stay late. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts. Nothing. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how good the market is you have. I really don't even care about how good the people are around you. If you're not willing to work, if your people around you aren't willing to work, you can do okay, but you're not going to excel. There's just nothing that replaces good old fashioned, get your rear end out of bed, stay late when you have to stay late. And so that was kind of the first piece I learned. The other thing that I really learned from Don is that there's a lot of folks that, you analyze everything to death, then you make the decision, and then you act. And what Don taught me is, he's like, man, if you spend all this time thinking about it, the opportunities are going to be gone. So the kind of his point was, hey, you need 2 or 3 data points, make a decision. Are you going to mess up? Chances are, yes. But you're going to get more right than you get wrong if you understand your data points and run hard from there. So really learned that, hey, you need to be able to take 2 or 3 pieces of data, analyze it really quickly, be consistent on the pieces that you analyze, make your decisions quickly, be okay with making a mistake, but at the end of the day, work. Like, there's just nothing that beats good old-fashioned work.
So there's no silver bullet is what you're saying.
I mean, look, the silver bullet is work. I mean, it is, and honestly, I think it's even getting bigger and more important today, because with all of the technology, there's just this element of, oh, the computer can do that for me, or, oh, I can send it out and get it scrubbed, or there's an algorithm that'll do this. Man, call your customers back. When you mess up, call your customers really quick and tell them you messed up. Don't lie to them, Don't tell them you can get them a machine in a week when you know that there's an inventory shortage and you're 3 months out. Just communicate truth, communicate bad news really quickly. And then just sit down. Like, sometimes you got to take pen to pad and you got to work really hard, and you got to do just, really tedious, boring work. And sometimes you got to do really hard work. One of the things that technicians are really going through is that, you plug your computer in and the computer tells you X is what's wrong with the machine. Oftentimes that's not the case. You got to diag it. You got to understand, why is X the problem? Because if you fix X, chances are there's things behind X that are causing those problems. And so it really just comes, I don't care how much things change. I don't care how much technology improves. You gotta stay kind of at your core fundamentals of hard work and being willing to think.
Yeah, no, I love that. At TracTru, I tell our team all the time that we're just a customer service company that just so happens to build websites and do digital marketing, and that's at the heart of it. Because I'm with you. There's so much in today's world where so much has shifted online, so much has shifted to here's a login, here's a dashboard, you look at it, you figure it out, and nobody's willing to come alongside anymore and be that coach and really just help their customers, like you're saying, and be quick, and really, listen to the needs and meet those needs. And so that's encouraging to hear. Talk a little more about kind of to segue into that, and you're kind of hitting on it, I feel like, but the culture at Florida Coast. I feel like y'all just do things differently. So talk about how you guys do things.
So kind of the really interesting thing for me is that I don't have a day-to-day responsibility that revolves around selling a tractor, fixing a tractor, renting a part, or renting a machine. That's not my job. I wake up every day and make sure that our culture is right. Look, I am a firm belief. I do not believe that the customer is always right. Probably not the best thing to say. I firmly believe if I take really good care of my people, and I really focus on that piece, and I understand their needs. I understand kind of what fulfills them. Like, you spend more time at work than you do with your family. And if you remove sleep from that percentage gets really high. And so the way I look at it is, man, let's take care of our people. One of the things that we don't do at Florida Coast Equipment is we don't sign non-competes. That is a rarity in this industry, especially on sales. But I tell people, I don't want to non-compete. I want to treat you well enough. I want to pay you well enough. I want to train you well enough. I want to give you the tools that you want to come to work here. And that's if I'm not doing that and someone else can give you a better opportunity, a better position that you can be more fulfilled, shame on me. You should leave. And that's on me. And that is my responsibility solely. And so I think that really, I wake up every day and, we tell our team, I'm pretty good at being on message. Like, it is about MSH. You can kind of make stuff happen. We want to make stuff happen by delivering superior customer service and unrivaled product support. And first and foremost, we want to take care of each other. If we're doing that, then you all of a sudden have a really fulfilled team. You have a really engaged team that is doing all the little extras for customers. We're far from being perfect. We're far from achieving kind of what our vision is there. But every day we wake up and we're focused on it. One of the big things that we do is a bit symbolic, but it's important, is that the first day of every month, we have culture committee meetings. And we talk culture, and we talk our values, and we talk our vision. Day 2 of a month, we look at financials, because I believe if you've got good people that are well-trained, that are happy and engaged in their company, you're going to have awesome financials that follow into that standpoint. So that's just a fundamental belief that I have on this process.
Love it. No, that's so good. Talk about kind of just segue off of culture. You mentioned at the beginning, you're at 10 locations today, 14 tomorrow. You guys are in acquisition mode. And how do you translate that culture? So as you're growing, as you're, buying more stores and those types of things, how do you come in and get, new people to buy into that?
Man, you got to live it. They're never going to believe you. Look, acquisitions are a ton of fun for the management team of the guys acquiring you. It is really scary for the folks that are being acquired. We get really excited when we get a deal where we know like, hey, man, this is an opportunity. We get to grow. When you walk in your first meeting, you tell folks, like, one of the things every salesman, when we bring in, like, we don't compete against each other at Florida Coast Equipment. Like, I don't allow salesmen to quote against each other. We have to find markets, we have to find regions, and we work together. And when I tell other salesmen, hey, in like a month or 2, you're going to be passing deals on to other salesmen, they literally laugh at me. And within a few months, that we've built a culture where if we have a landscape guy and he drives by and sees a new construction guy in town, he's calling the landscape guy. And Vice versa, if the construction guy is seeing a landscape guy, hey, I know this project over here is ending. They got a big install coming. They may need a rental. Give them a call. Like, we begin to work together as a team. But we do it by living it. We tell them day one what it is. We spend a lot of time on it, but ultimately we have to live it. And we allow them, one of the things we say, man, is that if it's a process issue, if it is a pricing issue, if it's a day-to-day business issue, go through the chain of command. But if we are failing on culture at any level of which we promised you, you need to let us know immediately. And so it takes time. It takes time. And I do think this, look, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be treated well. And when you treat people well, you clearly communicate the expectations. People buy in. Not everybody buys in. There is real turnover in acquisitions, but for the most part, people buy in and they understand that, hey, man, we're going to treat you really well, but we have really high expectations and we're going to run really fast and work really hard. And not everybody signs up for that, and we're okay with that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And the good thing about you guys being okay with that is you guys communicate it clearly, is what you said. You guys communicate clearly on the front end of, here's what we're going to do. And I think in so many businesses and so many cultures, that's what people are longing for. That's what people, want, is they want that clear communication. They want that clear path. They want to know what's expected of them. And they don't like living in that gray of not really knowing what their job description is and what they're responsible for. They want that ownership. They want that responsibility. And that's really cool that you guys paint that out the way you do.
Look, we paint it out. We're willing to take criticism on it. We're willing to be pushed when we're not living it. But the big key that you got to make sure on these things is that you got to help them understand why. Like, clear communications, you don't need uncertainty. Nothing thrives in uncertainty. I don't care what it is. Not a plant. I don't even think cactuses survive in uncertainty. Like, they just survive in dry weather. You start putting rain and water and then cold, and they're going to die. People need certainty, and it's really, really important that you deliver that. I'm a creature of habit, so I have to have certainty.
Yeah, I get you. So being a creature of habit, do you have certain, rhythms and routines to your day that you feel like these are key things that I need to focus on, each and every day, and check those boxes?
Yeah. So look, one of it is communication. So we have 3 basically 15-minute meetings that happen beginning at 7:15 every morning, and the last one ends at 4:30, just at different times. So I think making sure at 7 a.m. when I talk to the management team, and then at 7:15 they jump on calls, and it goes all the way throughout the stores. What I think we really work hard to is to make sure that we don't make decisions in a bubble, that we get it down to the street very quickly. And so I think that's the first thing that matters. I think the second thing that matters is that, and this is just a core principle, is that you return every phone call and you return every email. And even if the return is, hey, I've gotten your email, I can't get to you today, that's fine. You've just at least acknowledged that you've received it. And so to me, if you're returning calls, returning emails, returning texts, and you're communicating daily, everything else is going to fall in line. The other thing is, in this business, this is easier said than done. So trust me, this is more aspirational than anything. This business is very reactionary. And if you're not careful, the business will run you. And we try to have a plan. And we preach plan. It blows up almost every day, but you at least start with a plan.
Love it. No, that's awesome. Changing gears just a little bit, you mentioned you started in, was it 2007 that you started?
2000.
In this?
Yep.
So you've had some time here. Just kind of talk me through some of the changes that you've seen, some of the changes that you're noticing in the industry, and really how you guys have pivoted along the way, and kept your business on track with those changes that have come. Look,
first of all, Kubota is the biggest thing. If you look at Kubota from 2007 to today, it's unrecognizable. And if you have as a dealer have continued to invest, continue to expand, and continue to enable yourself to take advantage of all Kubota has to offer, you should be in a pretty good spot. So that's kind of been for us. I mean, one of the biggest reasons for success is hands down Kubota. Period. End of story. Take me off the table. Even sometimes take our people off the table. We're in a fantastic market, and we have, I think, the best manufacturer partner that you can have. We do look at that as a partner and not as a frictional relationship. And because they are just constantly expanding product line, they're giving you new avenues for revenue. They've really become committed to parts and service into the after sales business. They've also expanded into rental. So Kubota's been one of the bigger things. And if you really look at the market, and we kind of serve what I would consider four. We have the sundowner market, which is your estate owner. We have commercial construction, commercial landscaping, and then you have agriculture. And then there's all kinds of subdivisions within, or sub kind of departments within there. But at the end of the day, man, it just comes down to, and this sounds cliche, and say what you want. Give them superior customer service, unrivaled product support, treat people well, be honest with them. And if you do that, things haven't changed all that much. Yes, there's automation, but the machine still breaks and the computer still breaks. So it hasn't changed that much as far as I'm concerned. When I really look at the core, what's changed is the products we have to offer.
Yeah, no, that's great. Speak specifically about, obviously 2020 hit, kind of changed business for everybody. You mentioned some equipment shortages and things like that. In that moment, how did you guys pivot your business, and kind of coming out of that, what things have kind of stayed as new processes out of that time?
So the biggest thing we learned, so the very first week of the shutdown was the worst week of business we've ever had. Just pure panic set in. I remember sitting down with my team, and one of the questions was, hey, where are we going to cut? And my answer was, if we have another week like that, we don't need to cut a damn thing. We can just close up. But I said, what we're going to do every day is that we're going to communicate. And that's actually where our 7 a.m. and 4:30 calls came from, was from that. So that was the big thing. The other piece that I think, and this is good and bad, and by the way, I'm a fairly extreme personality, so it's very hard for me. What COVID taught me is don't get too wound up about equipment shortages. Don't get wound up too much about great sales. Like, those are all outliers. Continue to operate the business. Do not change your business to the outliers. When you see long-term changes, okay, you need to adjust your business. But, oftentimes I hear dealers talk about, hey, there's an inventory shortage. I know we need a new dealership, but I want to wait for inventory to get better before I go down that path. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. I'm going to be in the TracTru business tomorrow. I know my facility today is inadequate for what I'm doing. We can't wait for inventory to get better. We've got to move forward and prepare for tomorrow. And so what it really did was I think I learned, the biggest lesson I learned is don't let your highs be too high and your lows be too low in that process. Kind of like what they say, you're never as good as your mom says you are, and you're never as bad as your enemy says you are. That's kind of what I learned here, is that the market's not as good as it is. It's not as bad as it is. Like, let's stay really, really focused. Kind of back to my point. If we're delivering superior customer service, unrivaled product support, we're telling people the truth, and we're taking care of our people, everything else is going to kind of work itself out.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, just based off the inventory shortage, did you guys put additional emphasis in kind of other pillars of the company with service and parts and rentals and things like that? Did you guys explore more in those areas during that time?
Luckily, we had made the decision probably 3 to 4 years before COVID that we had already made the transition of, we were no longer a tractor dealer that would service your machine and sell you a part if you wanted to be. We had already decided that we were going to be a service company that would sell you parts if you didn't want us to service it, and we will sell you a tractor as an afterthought. Like, we really had already moved to the service process of the business, to the rental process of the business, because anybody can sell a tractor. Like, if you really want to take a step back, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people with a Kubota contract. There's a lot of people with a lot of other brands out there. If you have a really good marketing campaign, great financing, and a good manufacturer partner, you can sell the tractor. You can sell the first one. That'll be the last tractor you sell if you can't take care of them. And so we really had already decided like, hey, we want to focus on selling within LMA. We want to focus on selling products and making sure that we're building a service team that can help them. The biggest problem that every one of us are facing, even those of us that put emphasis on parts and service coming out of the pandemic, is that we had a tech shortage before. It is exacerbated exponentially at this point. A tech shortage is real. There's no clear end in sight to that, and so that is the biggest hurdle that we will be facing long term as a company and as an industry.
Gotcha. Couple more questions I wanted to ask as we're kind of wrapping up here. So one is, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing when you started your career, what would it be?
Man, I've been really lucky, and I've worked for a lot of smart people along the way, and I've been able to really glean from them. I hate to say this because I would just go back and say plagiarize. Like, find stuff that's working. By the way, there's nothing I'm going to create or do that somebody hasn't already figured out. And so find the people that are doing what it is you want to do really well and learn from them. Don't think so highly of yourself that you got it figured out and you can do it differently. People have made every mistake. Like, the new ideas are over. And more importantly, I'm not going to be Bezos. I'm not going to change the world and create an Amazon. But in this business, and really in anything you do, people have figured it out. They've figured out what's worked and learned from those guys. And I would say you would save yourself a tremendous amount of headaches, Todd, if you'd have asked a few more questions and slowed down and done a little bit more research on what were best practices before you charge down certain roads.
That's great. Great advice. Another question is, what's some of the best advice you've been given on leadership?
Man, if you're not respected, you can't be a leader. It's just that simple. And so it comes down to one of the things that we focus a lot on at Florida Coast is integrity. And when I have conversations with folks, they say, well, I'm not a liar. I'm not cheating for you. Like, I have integrity. And they're right. But I go, that's just a requirement to work at Florida Coast. Like, you can't lie, cheat, and steal. I said, what we're trying to do is build trust in every interaction we have. And my question often is like, hey man, I saw you got an email 2 or 3 days ago. You haven't responded back. Like, is that integrity? Like, your customer called you at 7:00 last night. You may have been at dinner, and that's okay. You should have just texted and said, hey, I'm at dinner. I'll need to call you in the morning. Like, everybody understands family, but like, are you building trust in that interaction? And that's, look, I pride myself on it. I'm also really bad at it. I value time tremendously. If I show up 5 minutes late, I could easily say, hey guys, I'm the president of the company and I'm running around. But really, I'm not building trust in my relationships when I show up late to meetings or when I get on late to calls. And so it's doing what you say you're going to do. Just do that. And the minute you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. But the biggest thing there is make sure you tell people that. And so, to me, I think it's being where you say you're going to be. When things change, let people know, because everybody's got a plan. One of the things that we talk about at Florida Coast often is that you must assume that if there's a machine in the shop today, that's how that guy or gal feeds their family. And assume if we don't get that machine back to them tonight, their kids can't eat. In certain cases, literally, a road could not open or food could literally die on the vine. I mean, like, those are extreme cases that I'm making. But ultimately, if we operate under the assumption that, man, this is how this guy feeds his kid, it makes us understand a little bit better when they call in and they're screaming on the service department. We still don't need to tolerate that, but you can have empathy for the individual at that point in time. And so that's probably a long-winded answer. I probably gave a little bit there, but it's have integrity, do what you say you're going to do. And then the final piece, really, whether it's your team members, whether it's your direct reports or your customers, have empathy, or your manufacturers. You know, calling your manufacturer screaming that you can't get equipment, chances are they can't do a darn thing about that. Like, have some empathy. Like, they got 50 other phone calls like that today. Like, there's nothing they can do. Do you think they don't want to get you inventory? And so I think kind of empathy would be another big piece to have.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I like when you talked about, you know, talking to the techs, and this is how, you know, these people feed their family, or, you know, this road can't get done until this equipment gets out the door. You're giving your people a why, you know, and you hear a lot about that. And you mentioned that earlier, is you have to let people know why. You know, why is this important? Because if it's just a task, if it's just checking a box, that's when you lose all that. Just like you're saying, that's when you lose the integrity. That's when you lose the empathy. That's when you lose all those things that are so valuable and so important to building a company, whenever you don't see that why. So that's awesome.
And Simon Sinek is onto something here, because starting with why matters big time for my age. Not so much for the generation behind me, but the millennials and the folks that are coming to work for us, if they don't feel like they're a part of something and they don't understand why, they're just not going to do it. It's just that simple. And by the way, good for them. I think they've learned a lot of lessons. Millennials take a lot of heat. If you're a millennial and you want to come work for Florida Coast, call me. I'll take you tomorrow, because you are seriously focused. You understand and you believe in a purpose. And if we treat you really well, you'll stay here forever. I mean, there are some real values in millennials, and I think a lot of the old timers and a lot of folks even my age we knock them. Frankly, they learned some lessons that we didn't.
Love it. Todd, thank you for joining us today, man. This has been a fun conversation, and we love seeing all the things that you guys are doing at Florida Coast, and the way you guys are really bringing innovation to this industry. And ultimately, like you said, just taking care of people, taking care of your customers. That's what it's all about. So thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, man. If you need something, let me know. Thank you guys for everything you're doing. We're working together, and I think my gut is in the next 6 months, we'll have a different product than what everybody else had 6 months, a year ago.
For sure. Have a good one. Thank you.
Take care. Thank y'all.